everybody, and welcome to a short overview on my template that I'm using to compose my stuff. I'm mainly working in film scoring and trailer music, and this is of course related to my personal workflow, what I like to have available in a template regarding instruments, regarding effect settings, routings, etc. Since some people asked me what I do, what my template looks like, what I do with it, here I try to make it as brief as possible, a small overview on my template. So for the facts, I'm working in Cubase 7. Have my old or maybe I should start another point. 3 months ago I got me a new PC, dedicated audio workstation from a company in Germany, here in Berlin, called DAX, Digital Audio Networks, which is a pretty much a power horse because of my old machine. I had problems with freezing and bouncing in between tracks because the CPU and the overall system was not able to handle all the stuff in real time that I wanted it to handle. And so I went for a new machine, and but my old one is still in use. I put it to use with the Ensemble Pro, and have a setup of 2 machines now. My main one, which is an i7 6-core machine with 64 gigs of RAM and mainly SSD drives for all the sample stuff, and my old machine is an i5, which unfortunately has not any SSD drives yet. This is something for the future that I plan to upgrade, because SSDs are so much so great for the performance, for the overall workflow, and that on a side note. But the main things that are happening in the template are happening on my main machine. So all the orchestral library, strings, brass, woodwind, percussion, etc. is all on my DAW, and on my old machine, on the Slave, I have mostly the stuff that I need for hybrid scoring, so the synthesizers and synth libraries like Evolve, Heavyocities, Evolve, Eon, 8-Dios, hybrid stuff, hybrid tools, and Rhythmic Aura and stuff like that. So just to give you a short overview how I set things up, and how I actually put things to use and to work. I don't want to go too much in detail to all the libraries that I'm using. I'm just giving a short mention on each of these. There are tons of videos out there where you can check out every library in detail, so this is not a library review, just something for my overall workflow and how my template looks like. Before going into each of the sections or each of the groups that I have in my template, it's not really a track, I just put something together that you have something to hear. So yeah, just enjoy. Short track. So that's it, short sound example from my template. Let's go directly into what I have here. For the strings, I use a bunch of these libraries that are out there because I personally find sometimes you just miss stuff. There is not one single library that covers everything. You can go pretty far with the big players like LA Scoring Strings or Adagio from ADO or Cinematic Strings or Symphobia, which are the one, and Albion as well from Spitfire Audio. These are the ones that I have set up here. You don't need all of these. I personally really like to just layer stuff and combine different sounds, because every library has some kind of distinct sound, and sometimes one fits better than the other for the certain job. So just in brief overview, I have the full section of Adagio running with not every patch, of course, that is available in the library, but the ones that I found useful for my workflow and for my needs. Mostly I have this goes through all the libraries that I use, some kind of legato sounds, sustained sounds, and shorts. Some libraries have specific patches that are either superior to other libraries or just unique to these libraries. For example, the dynamic bowings in Adagio is something that I don't have in that way in any other library, because you don't need any controllers or MIDI data to perform volume transitions. These are recorded as they are. So just holding two notes and having these dynamic bowings, as they are called, and this is essentially what they are, works really, really well. So I have these in there, as I said, the legato sounds. One short mention on the controller side. Actually, I was made aware of the fact through Embertone's release of the Friedlander solo violin. They have Touch OSC controller for the library to control the behavior of the violin with vibrato and volume and vibrato speed and stuff like that. And the thing is, what I wasn't aware of is that you actually can use Touch OSC in a really, really simple way, because a lot of these libraries use mod wheel and expression for their volume controlling. So mostly mod wheel blends between several dynamic layers from soft to loud, and expression is kind of an overall volume controller, so that you can make a loud layer, for example, still can tweak it down. And what I did so far is having it on the mod wheel and on a fader CC11 to control both of these. And what I set up after I saw how Embertone did it with a Friedlander violin is I can show right now my iPad screen, but what I did is in Touch OSC made me a XY controller pad that fills the whole screen and control dynamics and expression or mod wheel and CC11 at the same time with one finger. As you can see here, when I move my finger from the bottom left to the top right, both these controls change, but I can also go only on the bottom side to control CC11 and only on the Y direction to control the dynamics, which is mod wheel, essentially. And this gives me a really, really great flexibility to control the dynamics while playing the parts live. On a side note, sorry for any cracks and bubbles. I don't have that when working. It's just recording, and having that template running is, even for that machine, a pretty hefty task. So, yeah, sorry for that. So I control that stuff through an iPad touch control. Which is really handy, and as I said, most of the other libraries feature these controllers as well. Sometimes I program them myself that way, sometimes they just have it naturally, they're delivered that way. So that's yeah, really cool, and works through most of these libraries that I'm using here. To make a chart using the pretty much entire Adagio line, from the violins to the violas, celli, basses, and it gets shorter. Basses just one legato sound, dynamic bowings, and the shorts, because I just rarely use more of these, especially with the other libraries that come later on. Also use the Friedlander solo violin, amazing library by Embertone. With no control at all right now. If I change that to the touch Osc controller that Embertone delivered for the violin, you can see here how I control that. Really great sound, and once you get your head around how all the controls work, it's really playable, which is the most important thing in a library for me, to have it easy to play. Next one in line I have for the strings is Symphobia. One thing that I just recently changed, thanks to Alex Pfeffer, who made me aware of the fact I use a lot of the key switch patches, and had key switches going, of course, which makes it pretty hard later on, for example, for an orchestrator to divide that stuff, which articulation is meant in what part, when you have only one long line where you actually use different articulations and only have these key switch notes in there. So it's actually pretty cool to have it separated to individual channels and have one channel for each articulation, so you can that's definitely easier later on for an orchestrator to translate that stuff, at least in my case, that I do to an orchestra. As I said, next one is Symphobia. I use Symphobia a lot for sketching tasks, like just coming up with need to change back my touch Osc to my XY controller again. Okay. Often use Symphobia for sketching out things, and then later on giving it to the different parts of the different libraries depending on what sound I'm aiming for. On the other hand, I also find myself often keeping it as it is, because Symphobia just sounds great still. Not going too long, all the different articulations available here for low strings, high strings. The staccatos, pizzicatos, and some of the effect sounds, which is really great. These, but they're slightly overused maybe, so that's the downside to it, when you have great, remarkable sounds, that you actually get to notice them. Next one line I have here is Matic Strings. They are missing some articulations that I have in the other libraries, but the articulations they have are extremely well done, and it's simply fun to play. The Matic Strings sound amazing. Great way to compare it to, for example, the Adagio Violins. I play the same line. So definitely a sonic difference between these, and this is actually what I like about having these various choices, to depending on the mood and the tone I aim for. And sometimes you can also layer these to go for a really thick sound. So actually having both libraries playing the same has not much to do with a real orchestra, because suddenly you go from 18 to 36 first violins. But in the end, what I tell myself, if it sounds good, it is good. That's what I care about. Not in the first run about possible live orchestration. When I know that it's going to be recorded in an orchestra, of course I'm going to change my workflow and try to adapt that to a real orchestra size. Matic Strings intentionally is set up to have every articulation in one patch available through key switch. So that's why what I mentioned in the beginning, I recently changed that to have every articulation individually on each channel. I left out the basses here because I had the Adagio basses, and with the next one, mostly for the deep sounds in the strings, I tend to use Albion because they're just freaking amazing. Maybe the room they're recorded in, or don't know, I really like the tone of these deep strings. And again, the same controllable through the iPad controller with mod wheel and CC11. And with one of the latest updates, Spitfire changed their appearance as well to have every articulation available in one patch through key switching. So I have every patch loaded and each articulation that I need for the corresponding patch. Low strings, high strings, Albion 1, Albion 2. I don't use that much from Albion 2, mainly the divisi legatos. They are just mind-blowing. Love the tone. And for example, the flautando articulation, which I don't have in any other library. So this one, and then for low strings, definitely a good choice is Albion 3 Iceni, where they recorded a huge deep string section with double basses and cello to give you a massive sound. And on the other hand, I have to admit, it's not always suitable. So sometimes these can just sound too big, and that's why I have various choices in here to choose from. When the low strings, they're mostly my first go-to, but when they sound too bold for the track, and I still have other options to go to, like Adagio or cinematic strings, or have the basic setup of LAS. My former template I had before, where I didn't have that much string libraries in there, I had all the divisi sections from LAS going, which was pretty cool. But in that template, I felt I don't need them here right now when I want to go for that intricate, intimate sound with smaller ensembles. I still have another template where I go mainly for LAS. But to have the sound here, because the legatos are still top notch and some of the best I know of. I have the basic patches in here, like as you can see, the legatos and the short sounds. And last in the line for the strings is Native Instruments Action Strings. Which is, if it comes to short strings, the best solution in my opinion to get strings running, because they are just recorded string phrases. So whenever you try to emulate short string passages or parts in your compositions, it's programmed MIDI material, and here you actually have played phrases and can change them the way you like to your needs. Anyway, it's not really all about the libraries, it's more about the template in general. So it goes on. Harp is orchestral essentials. I still need a dedicated harp library like Orchestral Tools, Sphere or something like that. On the to-buy list. Next one, brass. Have again, like with the strings, Symphobia for basic sketching with all the different articulations available. Then mostly change it to Cinebrass, use Cinebrass Core and Pro, plus Embertone's Chapman trumpet. Nothing really no need to say anything about that. The Embertone guys really know how to do legato. So definitely needs a place in the template. And again, the Albion line for the brass sections, low, mid, high, the effects, and also Albion 3, the Iceni patches, which are mind-blowing. I love these sounds. Woodwinds, I still go for a VSL, mostly due to the lack of any other library that comes close to that I have so far. So there's Cinewinds out there, there's the Orchestral Tool Winds are out there. I just don't have these yet, so I stick with VSL because they just sound freaking good. So this is really just the I think the Woodwind LE edition and the expansion pack. Altogether it's kind of 150 euros or something like that. So pretty cheap, and you get a lot for that price. And when it goes to sections, again, the Albion line is great with the sounds. As well as the low woodwinds from Iceni. Didn't even know that woodwinds can go that low. It is really great library. And I still use, as I've said, due to the lack of any of the new libraries out there, don't have these yet, still use the Cine Samples Hollywood Winds, and I love them. They're, especially the effects, the runs, the tempo synced runs are pretty cool still. And also the triads and stuff like that, which makes life easy. Pretty cool. Then I have some solo instruments going, the Adagio oboe. This is a section that I definitely need to expand. I just haven't brought these in there yet, like all the Tarilonti libraries in Error or Forest Kingdom. There are amazing woodwinds in there. Desert Winds, the Duduk is beyond words. Just didn't manage to put them in the template yet. What I have so far is just the Embertone solo flute. The Shire whistle. And that duduk I have here, I think it's from Best Service Spiritual Winds. Just for the basic needs. What's up here? Okay. My mistake. Anyway, as I said, these will be substituted with the corresponding, in this case, Eduardo Tarilonti libraries. Didn't have that yet. The percussion stuff comes from mostly the orchestral stuff from Project Sam True Strike, who just lately released an update for the whole library, because this is so great, because before you had for each instruments you had 3 patches with a close, stage and room, and had to mix it individually, and it was a mess of work and not easy to work with. And now they incorporated that all into one single instrument, and you have a fader where it can actually decide which microphone setting you like to have for the corresponding patches. Now it's really, really usable. I have most of my tune percussion from them. Etc. So then one thing, I don't do any justice to that sound library by using only that one patch. Evolution World Percussion, amazing sounds in there, but just not for the template what I needed. But that Mbira kind of, and no idea how that is pronounced, but it sounds great. And last in the line that I have here is Adagio's just newly updated Alien drum. Great sounding library. Orchestral percussion, again, True Strike. And all the other stuff, timpani, snare, military snare, cymbals, the tom-tom chimes. Always good to have some chimes in there. Then I use a lot of the epic percussion from 8D and Soundiron, formerly Tonehammer, the epic toms. As old as they are, they still sound great and still work great, especially in trailer productions. The epic taiko doesn't need any words. Still love the old Cinesamples Drums of War. Especially the sub booms. Great for trailer stuff. I think the score from Avatar started with that boom. Then Albion 2. some metal percussion, and of course the Easter Island hits. Sorry if I just shredded your sub if you have any. The Fang Gong is a great instrument from Best Service World. There are tons of other great instruments in there as well, but that gong is, I really like that. For basic needs, I have a kit from Native Instruments Studio Drummer as well in there, which I don't have right now. Just give me a second. That is the wrong instance. Should be that. Next thing that comes is I actually changed there and might lose a word on Vienna Ensemble Pro, which is a great tool to what I mentioned in the beginning, to incorporate your a slave machine, for example. In that case, I have Vienna Ensemble Pro running and have all the hybrid percussion stuff, synthesizer, stuff like that on my other machine. I can look at that through remote desktop connection in Windows, which is, I don't know how that works on Macs. I'm pretty sure there's something alike. It's really cool, so I don't need to get up to the other side of the room and get to the PC and work there. Can actually handle everything in here. It's like I'm sitting right in front of that, but being here on my DAW still, and have everything in here: hybrid percussion, Heavyocity, Evolve, a lot of these loop stuff. I have Omnisphere running here. To be honest, there are no pre-selected patches in that, so it's not really a template. It's just set up, and whenever I feel I need to go to Omnisphere, I browse the library. I mean, I have my favorites and whatever, but it's nothing set up straight for the template. What else do we have? Ian, Heavyocity's latest release. Absolutely great library, amazing sounds, great for sound design and trailery stuff and hybrid scoring. Same with the 8D Auras, Aura 1 and 2. This is what I use for all the synth stuff. Come to that in a minute. I'm not done yet with these, so just some basic patches from Damage. These will be expanded in the near future to make more use of these libraries for hybrid and sound design stuff. So far I only had some basic patches in there to cover my basic needs. For example, especially on trailer scores, the Evolve loop libraries or the Evolve library with its loops comes in extremely handy to give some kind of modern flavor to the scores. So all the loop libraries that come with Evolve Mutations 1 and 2 I have set up here to have instant access to all the loops that are in there. As you can see, I set up 3 audio channels here. These are mainly, I saw that in a video tutorial that Daniel James did when he released Hybrid 2's library Alpha, where he said that he uses a lot of these sound design stuff, especially booms and stuff like that, that needs to be on time. rather works with audio than with MIDI, which is pretty logical in the end, because you can align that to the grid and put the effects wherever you really need them, instead of trying out with a contact instance to line that up and try to match the right point in time that the riser ends on bar. So better to work with audio there, and whenever I feel I need some of these sounds, I just drag the audio in here. It's just preset up to the corresponding group channels. Talk about that in a minute, and then I'm ready to roll. Here is the Aeon stuff that I just mentioned. What I really love about that stuff is that I can instantly control the pitch of the loops. Through the lower octave. Down there I just press G and the loop runs in G. Press F and the loop runs in F. So really handy to bring that in as underscore for trailer stuff, or even for scores whenever it's needed. Helps a lot. And this is just again, this doesn't really do the Aeon library justice. It's way more than just these rhythmic loops that I have here. These are menu suites that I set up. Here we are. The menu suites that I've set up for that. There's much more in there, but so far when I find a loop and feel the need that I need to tweak it more, then I go into the details later on here and load that specific loop in on its own and work from there. But to get an overall impression, these loop menus are great. And honestly, I often end up using these as they are because they just work. Finally, so that's it for the channels and what I have in there with instruments and MIDI, and some words on the mixing side and what I have set up to get this together. All the contact instances, mostly in the orchestral sections, I divide between low, high, and solo. That I'm doing for most of the string libraries. So the Adagio Violins come with, for example, the violins are only high, not low, of course. But on the Symphobia patches, for example, I have one channel for low strings, one channel for high strings, and if there are any, one channel for solo strings. All these different channels from the instrument instances, which are quite a lot to be honest, would be a mess to handle each on its own. So I grouped these to, just let me find where's my instrument window. It has gone. No, there it is. So these are all the instrument instances that I have running, and these are the ones that are in the mixer here. The instruments, all that stuff. These are all the outputs of the different instruments, and so it would be incredible to mix these on their own. So I put them together in groups, and these groups are way more efficient for me in the end. So for example, the epic percussion stuff lands in the epic percussion group, high strings, low string, solo string. The harp, I put that extra because it's not a string sounding instrument. The solo brass, the wood solo, tune percussion is extra. Mostly why I do this is when I need to do stems later on, I just switch on the corresponding groups and can export these as they are. And depending on how deep I need to go into the individual stems, I can do just the strings, just the brass, or the high brass and the low brass, depending on what the client or the library or whatever wishes for. These different groups, like strings, high string, low string, go into my final string group, and this again goes into the it's kind of a master channel, but master group, let's call it master group, where all the stuff that needs reverb goes in. And then I have another master group without reverb, where I send synthesizers and all that stuff that needs no additional reverb. One thing to mention on a side note is that I essentially use only one reverb for the whole stuff, for the whole thing. In this case I use Breeze with a medium hull, and the cool thing is with this setup in the end that I can change instantly the overall sound with just one. Let me put that to example. For example, the second part of that track. I just switch off the reverb when it runs, and you immediately notice the difference. That way that I have essentially only one reverb for the whole piece, you can say. I can instantly change the room to a completely different feel. But to be honest, what I of course did is try to match the libraries to come up with as much close to make them sound as close as possible to each other. So there are of course a lot of differences. So Albion is recorded with 4 different mic positions. Matic Strings has 3 different mic positions. The Hollywood Winds, for example, have a close and a stage position where more mixed towards the stage. So I do a lot of pre-mixing within the library. So when I have actually I only use the stage mics here because that matches the tone of the other instruments more than having the close sound too much in there. One exception are the VSL winds, which are extremely dry, and I don't have the group reverb on now, and when you listen, the flute still has reverb on it, which is due to the fact that I put a reverb on the instrument channel of the solo winds. When I switch that off, this is the way they are recorded. And so I loaded the LA scoring stage as a sound in the I use Reverence here, the Cubase internal IR plugin, impulse response reverb, and try to come relatively close to the room sound of what the for example Albion flutes or woodwinds. You notice that there's still way more room, but when I finally bring that together in the reverb of the master fader, then it is not that much of a difference anymore. And when I go to the Albion String, Woodwinds, since these are solo woodwinds, I like them to have a little bit more to the front than the sections. So there is some mixing, of course, in the individual channels, but overall, still one reverb for the whole thing, and I'm pretty much covered with that. The only difference is, for example, the short strings. I always have the feeling that the short strings, if I send them through the same space as the normal strings, just sound too wet. So they essentially have the same reverb. So I send them to a group on their own, and they have the same reverb applied as the group channel for the rest of it, but with way less mix. So they don't sound that wet as the long notes. Let's call it that way. Best example might be here, Adagio Violins. These are running through the main reverb. And the shorts are running through the same reverb but with less send settings. Especially for fast passages and where a lot of spiccato stuff going. It doesn't make the overall sound impression too muddy, so I have more space, and whenever I feel it's too dry, I just raise the mix level a bit and bring them more back into their space where the other instruments are. And that's pretty much what there is to it. Of course, some EQ settings on some of the groups, so mostly removing low end rumble. So mostly it's just a little bit of low cut here, for example, on the voices even a little bit higher, on the brass low cut, just the unnecessary information, and it just helps clear up the mix a bit. So that's how the template actually works right now. I hope there was some useful information in there for you. If you get any question, feel free to send an email or get in contact through Facebook. Thanks very much for watching, and enjoy making music.